Malicious compliance. Story 1. Delivery stuck in warehouse. So we decided to get a Ring doorbell, and my wife found it at a great price with a national chain. They even had an offer on which made it even cheaper. £58 down from £119. Bargain. This chain don't have a shop in our town, but you can click and collect from the supermarket, that is.
Great.
So we order it and wait, but a few days later it's still out for delivery. Do a live chat with their customer service and it's stuck in the warehouse, but they try and unstick it for me. A few days later and it's still out for delivery. Another live chat and it'll be there in a few days. Now it's getting to the end of the collection deadline, so I live chat again. Answer is that it's stuck in the warehouse and won't get unstuck. The only answer is to cancel the order and buy again. Problem is that in the meantime it's selling for full price £119 when we bought it for £58. I'm polite but forceful and try and find out why it's stuck and explain why I can't rebuy, as it's much more expensive. It's still on sale on their website. I can go into a store and buy one there, and then they're even giving them away with TV sets. Suddenly we realize what's happening. They've sold it too cheaply and have changed their mind. So I kick up and fuss and get offered £5, so ask to speak to a manager. AM told I'll be called back in 3 working days. A manager calls me back 5 minutes later, offers me a voucher for £62. The difference in value between what I paid and what it's on sale for. This way I can go back online and buy it at the price I bought it at. Yeah, of course I'm going to do that. So I wait a few weeks till they're doing their Black Friday deals. It's on sale for £61. We've now a £2.99 Ring doorbell. Story 2. Insurance rep insists on following the rules until she realizes the cost. Back in the mid-2010s, I had my phone insured through a premium bank account. The deal was simple: pay a fixed excess, and they'd either repair or replace your phone. The excess was the same whether it was a cracked screen or a full replacement, so it seemed like a solid arrangement. One day, I cracked my phone screen. It still worked fine, and I had a holiday coming up, so I decided to wait until I got back to file a claim. When I finally called the insurance company, the representative asked when the damage had happened, so I told her honestly. That's where the trouble started. She explained that I'd waited too long to report the damage. There was a time limit for claims, around 10 days, and I'd missed it. I explained that the phone was still usable and I needed it for my trip, but she wouldn't budge. Rules were rules, she said, and my claim was invalid. Her tone was borderline smug. Fine, I thought. Let's try some preemptive MC. Me. What should I do if the phone gets damaged further? Rep, you need to call us back and file a new claim. But make sure it's within the time frame. Me. Got it. And I can't include the existing screen damage, right? Rep, correct. The new claim would have to be for unrelated damage. She seemed oblivious to where this was going, so I pressed on. Me, so how likely is it that a cracked screen could lead to water damage? If water got in and fried the motherboard, you'd most likely have to replace the whole phone, right? There was a long pause. Then she said she needed to speak to her supervisor. When she came back, her tone had changed. Suddenly, they were willing to overlook the missed time frame and process my original claim for the cracked screen. Story 3. Won't cancel the service plan? I'd like to file a claim, please. I think this qualifies as malicious compliance, as one person being inflexible with the letter of a policy led the other person to comply with said policy and pursue its options in a way that brought about a change that aligned with the spirit of what was asked for in the first place. My parents had a house fire recently, no fault of theirs, and while the house didn't burn to the ground, this is important for later, it is basically a total loss due to heat, smoke, and structural damage. They have great replacement insurance. While the long wait for restoration and replacement will be frustrating, they are in as good of a situation as one could hope for. They also have one of those appliance service plans where they pay monthly. If any covered appliance isn't working properly, the service company will send someone out to troubleshoot, repair, and if it can't be repaired, replaced. My parents have the total coverage plan, including everything from kitchen to laundry to the freezer chest and mudroom fridge. Since the house is uninhabitable, they called to cancel the service and ask about prorating this month. My mom explains the situation and the rep on the phone says sorry, They can't prorate this month, nor can they cancel the service for the next payment cycle, even though they are in the middle of this payment cycle. Basically, it will be 45 more days of paying for coverage. My mom states that they are dealing with the stress of a house fire and living in short-term housing. I understand you can't prorate this month, but can you at least cancel the service for next month based on our situation? The rep says, well, I'm happy to cancel the service effective today if that's what you really want, but you will still have to pay for this month and next month. I can tell you from personal experience, it's a bad idea to get cute with my mom. My mom says, okay, I know. We aren't going to cancel a service we still have to pay for. Please keep the service in place. Instead, I'd like to file a claim on all of our appliances. There is a pause, and the rep says, you can't do that on appliances destroyed by fire. My mom says, oh no. The house was damaged, but the appliances weren't destroyed. Since this plan is effective through next month, please start a claim to send a service rep out to the house for all of our covered appliances and do any repairs or replacements as needed. A few minutes later, a supervisor gets on the line and says that due to the circumstances, they are happy to make an exception to cancel coverage early if she would like. Yes, thank you. For anyone thinking my parents should have seen the MC through to the end, they got what they initially asked for, and to do so would have foregone personal benefit for spite since the appliances will be covered by home insurance anyway. Story 4. Assigned seat? You sure about that? When my wife and I were in college in the late 80s, we had mandatory chapel. They took roll by observing empty seats and then assessing a fine after so many absences. We came to college after my stint in the military. We arrived with 2 small children. The youngest was only a couple of months old, and he was a screamer when upset. When we were getting our chapel seats, we asked to be close to the back and on an end so that we could take the baby out if necessary. We ended up in the middle of row L, last row being AA. Okay, we made friends with our nearby students. We are still friends to this day. Several weeks into the semester, the school president begins addressing the assembly, and my son loses his mind. He's screaming like he's being killed in a pitch that will almost shatter glass. He's not wet. He won't take a bottle or pacifier. I start to make my way past the 6 or 7 people on the aisle. My wife, through clenched teeth, says, "Don't you dare move." So little man caterwauls for 35 full minutes, stopping almost immediately when we get up. After chapel, we gather in the student union to get lunch and regroup before our next classes. Here comes the dean of students. So, I was wondering if y'all would be interested in moving to a seat near the back on the aisles? My wife, sweet as pie, says, we asked for that when we registered. We were told that it wasn't possible. Now we and the kids have made friends with the folks around us. Dean, we can move all of you? The rest of our time there, we and our compadres sat no closer than row V. Story 5. Half day at 10:15? Don't expect us to stay a minute after 5. This is my father's story, not mine. My father and his friend were doing a course, which required them to adhere to some corporate standards. A little background, both of them already had well-paying jobs. They were just doing this course for enhancing knowledge, and not for any other gain. The course was divided into phases, and this particular one was for 18 days. You were only allowed 1 leave, and if you took more than that, you had to redo the entire thing. Our city was around 2 hours away from the course center, and they traveled daily to and fro to attend it. They mostly tried to be early, but this one day, there was unusually high traffic, and they were much delayed. As a result, they were around 10 to 15 minutes late. When they reached the location at around 10:15, they were informed by the course supervisor, CS, that they would be marked absent for the half day. They both protested, stating their reason for lateness, and also that the class had not even started. But their appeals were dismissed. The irony? The lecturer himself was delayed by traffic, and the class didn't begin until well after 11. They were both frustrated for having a half-day marked absent for no reason. So at 5 that day, they stood up in the middle of the ongoing lecture, packed their bags, and started leaving the class. The lecturer was confused, and the course supervisor was enraged. He asked them what were they doing. They replied, following the protocol. If we are expected to arrive exactly at 10, we should be able to leave at 5 too. Apparently, the course supervisor wasn't prepared for someone to follow their own rules to the letter. The CS began shouting at them that you can't leave before the lecture ends, I will mark you absent for the full day, etc., but they just left. They got calls from the CS and other persons threatening to remove them from the course. As I said, my father already had a job, so he wasn't much bothered by the threats, and same with his friend. They went next day at exactly 10, ignored the CS and his warnings, and left at 5 that day too. The other students began following their example and left at 5 too, which led to the institute paying extra to the lecturers as they had to invite them the next day as well to continue the class. There isn't much more to it as the course was only for 18 days and they both passed with flying colors. This story came out of nowhere a few days ago and I couldn't stop myself from posting it here, however small the MC.